I slept good. No. Jeff, Cindy, if it's online, nobody will get that upset.
I think we got it.
We'll see. It said something about my confidence of this being a short meeting that I brought my charger. I usually figure battery's enough, but
Yeah, I see Todd over there with his charger on.
just in case.
Never a good sign.
I know.
Being cautious.
Usually I plug mine in, but last time I didn't because it was so short.
Oh, the Nordis. Yeah.
Well, right now, I'm legal to drive anything now, but I got the semi-trailer loaded.
Is this droid dated? Check.
I'll buy that bonds.
What was
You doing?
eighth?
Leave you.
I've been running the flatbed.
I feel like there's gonna be a way under this in the living room. And I couldn't see it.
For skid steers.
Yeah.
I even went to Hutch today with the
Yeah, I don't know.
I should have brought coffee.
Sorry.
Yeah, it goes up.
It seems low.
Yeah.
Oh, very good.
Is that too high now?
I like it high. You good, please sit there. I think I've left them at the office. You leave there so I can browse them.
Has it thawed out enough that everybody's water meters are starting to go? Well,
I think it's
one that's out in the yard, we know, but.
Oh, yeah.
There's one that was frozen today, they didn't have water, so I don't know what that was. No, we haven't had all out. Find them in a hurry. Oh, we are. That we are.
My kitchen doesn't have as much heat as the rest of the house because it wasn't added on. So I've been leaving my cupboards open.
Absolutely.
Fred always ran the heater back there, but why? I don't.
Must have knew something.
Huh? Well, he was cold. That was the problem. Lower the heat in the house.
Look at that clock, 'cause I feel like I'm craning my neck.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call?
Snellings. Present. Ferris. Here. Behrens.
Here.
Keating. Bikeman.
Present.
Thrum.
Here.
Schrader.
Present.
Brackey.
Present.
8-0, we have a quorum.
All right, great, full house. All right, first we have the approval of the minutes for the January 8th, 2024 meeting.
Move to approve minutes, regular meeting, January 8, 2024, as written.
Second.
Okay, does anybody have any further discussion? Anything need changed or added? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carries. Thank you. Next up, we have public comments. If anyone is here to, would like to come forward and give up to 5 minutes of comments, and that's not on the schedule, please come forward at this time. Liz?
Yeah, hi guys. Hi, I'm Elizabeth Dahl, and I live at 308 Railroad Avenue out in Bremen. By the way, the beautiful town of Bremen. Come and visit us. I'm here to kind of tell you a little bit about the pool last summer. First of all, I would like to just ask how many of you visited and swam in the pool last summer? Okay, so everybody was down there. We had a pool pass at my house, and we went pretty regular in the beginning. And then finally, we started going over to Seneca. Because the first day I walked in, the pool manager gave me a dress down about how we weren't going to eat anything at the pool, and on and on and on. I was kind of shocked because we were the only ones there, and I'm going, oh my God. And then I asked, where are the chairs to sit? There were 3 deck chairs all summer. She said, well, the rest of them are broken, and we're not replacing them because people just break them up. I went, okay. And I thought, a lot of times at that pool, you see grandparents and young children. And us old ladies were sitting really close to the fence because you had to kind of work your way up the fence to stand up. We're older. We don't get around as well. You couldn't go down the slides because they were so rough. And there wasn't enough water to make them slick. So I never saw hardly anybody go down the slides all summer long. Okay? The water was cloudy. It was cold. And as I heard through the grapevine, where this is not true or untrue, but I knew there was a water leak, but about 7,000 gallons were being pumped in every day. How do you keep the water chlorinated and clean with that much water being circulated? How do you regulate your chemicals? See, I don't know that either. And I just wondered what was going on with the water, okay? After going and seeing Seneca's pool, I was very disappointed. Their pool is older. It's in perfect shape. Clean, neat, cheaper to get in. Their adult fees are $3 a kid, an adult. Ours were $5. The fee for young children was $0. I mean, they were very orientated towards families and things, and I appreciated that. And so I'm just asking if we can please, because I remember going to the pool when it just opened, and how proud I was, and how beautiful it was, and how fun it was. But at given times, sometimes there was only 10 people in that pool. And sometimes there was not an adult there. There were kids being lifeguards, but not an adult. So I realize I'm not a city resident, but I do come in, and I do pay taxes, and I do support Marysville heavily. And if we are going to be looking at being a tourist destination with our barbecues and the river walk and everything, there's nothing that I would think that would be more enjoyable after walking the river trail to stop in and jump in the pool and cool off, but not when it looks like that. I'm asking, I guess, this is gonna sound awful. Don't be afraid to raise a little taxes and make what you want. Because sometimes people don't understand that you get what you pay for. And what we are looking at is to make not Marysville better or greater or anything like that, but fill it with the pride that we have in ourselves and in our town. But just look around, because I don't think, if I was a tourist, I'd go there. But I would drive that extra 20 minutes to go to Senecas. So I'm hoping that it's in the budget and you plan on spending some money and getting it up to snuff. Because we want young families. And so I hope you can do that. Good luck, guys.
Thanks, Liz.
Thanks, Liz. Would anybody else like to participate in public comment? It's not on the agenda. Okay, first we do have the Marshall County Sports and Rec 2023 report. You'd like to give that to us, Jason?
How are you guys? If
Good,
if you're not for sure, I'm JC. We run the Sports and Rec, Vince and I do. We live here in Marysville with the kids. We had, I would say, a good year. We added a couple different things, some for adults and just for the kids in the community this year. You guys see the numbers on that. For the most part, a lot of our fall sports were up. Baseball was a little down, but we had a different league come around where Home City, Beatty, and Bremen did a league. So that affected our numbers a little bit with baseball. But overall, we had a good year. We did finish redoing the mound up at the Legion, and then you guys, the city purchased ag lime to put, and we got that on. And then this fall, we actually just put, I want to say, another 50 ton on the Legion field that we're working on as well. And hopefully gonna get it all transitioned over. So it'll be a little bit easier with the rain. Do you guys have any questions? One more. I know this is our year for renewal. I'm not for sure when we can come and try to look at doing.
Not till August.
Not till August? Okay, I wasn't for sure on that. But we do have the Daddy-Daughter Dance coming up, March 23rd. So we usually have a really good turnout for that. And then, then this fall, or the spring actually, in March, we have two, I know one's North Dakota, and I think the other one's a North Dakota team coming down from, to play in baseball the weekend of spring break up at the Legion Field as well. So. But yep, we just, hopefully we'll add a couple more things this year and keep going. Okay?
How was the Sky event last year?
It was good. I think everything went smoothly on that end. We had everything. I was very thankful that everything was picked up. We had lots of people up there. Only thing I say is we just need to move the trash cans around, not just in the parking lot areas, but farther out towards the field and around, because there was a lot of people down even by the concession stand for trash-wise and bathroom-wise. The bathrooms at Lakeview were full the whole time. There was always lines out the bathrooms there. And then the food-wise, the storm chasers actually came in and did food as well. And I think that was good to have some extra things besides just the different food trucks that came in, just having we just did the popcorn and they just did little things like that. And that was a good hit too, but I think it was good. It was crazy. There was a lot of parking and people everywhere. It was different than seeing the cars there. The people ever filling all the places in the field was full, so it was good.
Good.
Good, great.
Anything else? Perfect. You guys have a great night.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
JC.
Okay, next we have the community pool group, Rory Clark.
Hello. For you that don't know us, I'm Rory Clark. This is Audrey Postel. She's a swim team coach. But we're here just to talk about a project few of us in town have been working on, which is establish a pool group to help with continuous support year to year with the Marysville Aquatic Center, also known as the city pool. And over the past few years that I've been back, I've noticed a need in this area in the community, and we're still working on our mission, so to speak. But a few of the bullet points that we're excited about trying to get going this year are just the overall cleanliness of the pool and areas when we have events like the swim team or the night out, just making it nicer in general. Have an active group of adult lifeguards. Pretty good priority on that because I see the benefit for the whole community, not only the swim team, but morning swim, stuff like that. With those trained adults, like I said, we get morning swims, help with the pool parties, other pool uses. Some of the senior centers could come and use it if you had adult volunteers or paid adults for that. Help with assist in fiscally planning for the future and understanding better that because we're here year to year. Helping coordinating pool need items, as we mentioned, some of the lawn chairs, awning replacement, ropes, stuff that just may not get followed up with in the 3 months of the summer. We might be around 12 months to help keep those things in mind. Beautification in the deck area. I've heard that there were some plants and other things in years past that just made it overall just nicer, that people may have donated. I'm not sure. Just been told of that. Maybe we can help just liven things up a little bit that. And then working with travel tourism, Chamber Main Street, just to make the pool a centerpiece draw for the summer in Marysville. You know, overall discussion with pool patrons and city leaders have been favorable in helping make our pool and then making our pool a centerpiece of the Marysville summer. Thanks for your time. I don't have a lot here, but if you have any questions or additional information, please reach out to Audrey or I. If you'd like to be part of our discussion, also reach out. We'll get you on our email list, and we'll see where we can head and help assist with that.
So if there are people in the community who do want to be part of the project, should they reach out to you directly?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's great that
I do
there's
too.
people in the community that want to, be involved and take the bull by the horns with this project, because that's what it takes in a small community to make sure all of your amenities get all the love and attention, and it's great to have people willing to step forward and do that. So thank you for that, and keep the communication open with, how you want to proceed. I'm sure we'll take all the adult lifeguards we can handle.
Everyone.
Like I said, we're still getting stuff going. As soon as we got more information,
We'll
definitely.
take kids too.
Well-
We're not gonna diss that either, but
Right.
we get some adults,
Right.
that opens more hours.
And your flexibility, and understanding that the needs are diverse as far
Right.
as equipment and staff and beautification, all good, but we can appreciate that, and, whatever we can do to help you help us.
Perfect. We will continue on then. Thank you, guys.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, moving on to business and discussion items. First up, we have the Brocky Heights subdivision, and got several items in your packet on that. And John, I don't know if you want to kind of discuss a little bit of the ground here.
Honestly, at times I wasn't sure what the issue was, quite honestly. If this area is going to be developed, the infrastructure is going to have to be addressed. And so I think the city should stay out of it. It's between buyer and seller. But something has to be done to address, regardless if it's a plat or if it's a lot split. My thoughts are, they asked my opinion. My opinion is I can't do anything. The council approved the plat. That's the bottom line. So I think they need to come back and address it. I shared with, I think the city clerk and maybe you, Mayor, about some prior lot splits, and they came back, the city had to pay when the policy was not to pay. And it's really between private property owners. Let them deal with it. We set the strength, we set the policy, we set the structure. The costs are paid by somebody else other than the city. And the cost, I think, last time was quite significant, I thought. I think it was 160,000, correct me, somebody,
Are you speaking
about the infrastructure cost.
at Hartley Ridge?
Yeah, no, at Broccoli subdivision. CES did.
Oh, what they're, I thought it was 100,000 to put in the sewer.
100,000.
And they have to have a,
So my thoughts is, if they,
Are they paying for that sewer?
well, that's the issue.
they have to.
Walcott's are here, and your Realtor, would you like to come forward?
Hear from them.
Well, thank you for considering this issue. This started back, I'm here on behalf of my sister and myself, Joanne Walcott, and my sister Nyla Spencer, Spencer Walcott Properties. We have 2.25 acres along the highway, which was all one subdivision. It had previously been platted or replatted, and so we were requesting another replat into smaller parcels. We met twice with the Planning Commission, who approved the replat, then with the council, who approved the replat. And then it came to light that I kept getting new pieces of information that I was not aware of. And then it came to my attention that we, the seller, would be required to install the sewer line, 550 feet of sewer line. And we really would prefer to get an exemption on this because the cost is substantial. The property has been for sale for a while. It may take a considerable more time to sell it. And in the meantime, if we have to come up with $69,000 to $100,000, that's quite a financial burden. So when I became aware of this information, I contacted Ralph, and he said, you know, because I found a code, I had just relied on the commission or the council giving me information and not read the codes myself. And so eventually, when this came to light, I went back and asked to see the codes and found these, what I thought was possible exemptions. So then Will said, well, you know, we'll have to get a legal opinion on this, and that's when it was referred to the city attorney. So what we were asking from him was a legal interpretation of the city codes that address the sewer line. But I'd like to begin by commenting on the January 9th email from John McNish in response to our request for a legal interpretation of the city replat codes. And you probably have a paragraph of the email that he sent. But in paragraph 1, he states it's a hypothetical situation because, and quote, in my opinion, the plat was effective as of the date that the city council approved the plat, notwithstanding the ministerial act of recording the plat with the Register of Deeds. This is incorrect because when I came across this code that I thought applied, then I did not get the signatures at the county courthouse. And I have checked with the Register of Deeds. The replat is not in existence. It has not been recorded. So that is incorrect. So, and in paragraph 2, there's a reference, or in paragraph 3, there's a reference where John says, the city adopted a policy to address the extensions/connections to city water and sewer wherein such costs are borne by the buyer. But he doesn't reference it, and according to Cindy, the only policy regarding that is Article 6, Section 6.4, A4 of the ULDC. So I'm not sure what you're referring to, John, on that. And then in paragraph 3, paragraph 4, we never asked for or expected the city to share in the cost of the sewer line. That is not what we are requesting at all. So I can see no legal opinion that has been given in response to our our original request. So we are asking for an exemption, either based on the code, C plat, or, you know, we could go ahead and file the replat as is into 3 lots, or if the exemption applies, we could go back and take it back to 2 lots. And that's what we were asking the opinion on.
Well, I stand by my opinion. You approved it, so it's got to come back to you to decide whether or not to rescind the prior order. As far as effective date, I mean, if they sold a lot, they'd be fined if they didn't file it. So I understand the legal opinion. You could consider it abandoned after a period of time. That's true too. But the question really is, you know, they need a sewer. One way or another, you're going to have to deal with the sewer issue. And I don't want the city involved with their selling it, hiding anything from anybody, because that could come back to the city and you're going to end up paying for it. So I just want to deal with caution here about who's going to pay for this. That's the real issue in my mind. It could be a seller or buyer. I think from the city's perspective, who cares? It's got to be done to maintain the sanitation, environmental aspects of this area.
What, did, like a month ago, did we talk about this? And we,
Approved the replat.
she got,
Approved it.
okay, so,
And what that means is you approve the easements. The plat itself is approved by the planning commission, I believe, and you guys just approve the easements. Is that not correct?
You approved the whole ball of wax.
John, I want to address that you just said that potentially they could hide something. That's why I'm here, and that's why we're trying to get this figured out. Because I have a legal obligation to Joanne listing the property for sale to disclose what's happening. And right now, she's requesting, because she's not a developer, she's just a landowner that's trying to make the property more marketable to sell, to be developed, to not have to hold the responsibility of the sewer on her behalf. She's asking that that cost be borne to whomever buys it to develop it. I'm here to find out, what am I supposed to disclose? Because at this moment, that property is listed, and because she can't give me a clear answer, I can't give a clear answer on, are we splitting it? Are we gonna split it 3 ways? Are we gonna split it 2 ways? And who's paying for the infrastructure? We're not trying to hide anything. We're trying to get to the bottom of what we need to disclose to take care of it legally and correctly.
how have we handled other subdivisions?
Well,
I mean,
I believe it's always been required, and that's kind of the crux of it here, is it would have to be, the city council would have to rescind its previous action and or grant this exception, which I don't believe we've ever granted an exception before. I'm not saying that's not an argument for or against, but I don't believe we've granted this as an exception prior.
But shouldn't everything be looked at on a case-by-case basis in the fact that Hartley Ridge was subdivided to build houses and develop a neighborhood? Same thing for Lily Creek. Her purpose of dividing this land is literally because it's been on the market for 5 years. We've had calls on that piece of land for just the pole shed, or just the grass next to it, or just what's in the front. Nobody wants the whole piece. So she's trying to do the right thing to give it to somebody to develop it by making it more marketable. So she's not developing it, she's literally just trying to survey it into chunks to sell it so we can develop it and get more tax dollars.
I understand the arguments for and against, and I know it's ultimately a council decision, just, you know, whether we want to look at this as a separate case, unique case, that's up to you. If you want to, you know, hold true to the rule that it's been, that's up to you as well. Yeah, I definitely agree. It's within the power of the council to look at everything on a case-by-case basis or not. I fear precedent sometimes. I'm not saying that's this, but I always worry about setting precedent for future, properties and future situations, and there can be a gray area, but I'm not the one, this is a council decision, not my decision.
If you read the Article 6, Section 6-4A-4 of the ULDC, it clearly states there what the rules are, correct? And that's the city code
That's a national code that the city has
adopted,
So
correct?
I think there's a question here too. Can the city set aside a code or any part of a code that it has adopted intact? And I would also mention, I thought we mentioned this in the memo, but perhaps not, I don't believe there's any provision in that code allowing for an exemption on this issue.
Correct.
So I think there's a question, does the city council have the authority to grant an exemption?
That's kind of what I was wondering.
I just think it's between private parties, and if you're selling it, you did say, well, there's going to be certain costs you're going to incur. I don't know how you get around that. And so it's like if you had a lagoon you disclosed that needs to be inspected, you've got some issues here. You've got to come forward. It's now known. I think it's CES did the engineering study. Is that correct? I thought it was CES. It came with $100,000.
To give them the estimate on how much it would cost.
But when it was replatted to sell those two homes and then the other parcel was separate, how was that approved when there was no sewer available on that plat?
There is sewer on your side. Now
Right.
it's been
Right,
eliminated.
but the other section was still divided from that, so how is there no sewer for that plat now? I mean, how did that go, by the way, sir?
Well, to install it, to even sell it, they have to address this infrastructure. That's my point. And so, even if they sold it then, they'd have to address it. And it was already in place. Here, it's non-existent. If you did a lot split, you still got to have something to hook up. I mean, it's almost like a question of degree.
But that's what I'm saying. The lot has been split. It used to be one big lot, then it got subdivided into, 2-3 lots? And so how are the two homes, they have sewer, but that was also subdivided, so how did it get divided without having that sewer in place?
Because you have sewer, right?
Now they're
That
trying to
middle
break
section
up, they're
doesn't.
trying to break up that one section that has no sewer line to it now.
Right.
Right, but how did it?
I can't answer that, but you guys
Right.
broke off with sewer. This part doesn't have sewer, now they're trying to break up that chunk to sell it with no sewer.
Yeah, no, I understand that, but
So I don't
that
think
used
that
to
would've
be
been an
one
issue.
big lot, correct?
Well, the remaining section that is currently proposed to break up does not have any sewer currently?
That's
The pole shed
correct.
does not have sewer or any of that?
No, that's
So
correct.
That's
my
what you're
question. How
saying.
did it get replatted already and that section didn't have sewer? So I don't see how it's any different this time. That's all. I'm just confused on that aspect.
He's basically saying it's already been
Yeah.
subdivided once and this wasn't a problem,
Because they had sewer.
but the one that we're trying to divide up again never did. It
Never
still
did.
doesn't.
It's still fallow, it's an unsewered section.
Right.
So they're just making 3 unsewered
Right.
sections out of 1, is the proposal. I see what you're saying.
You see, I'm just confused. If it's not allowed, how is it allowed then and not now? That's my only question.
Don't know.
You'd have to have
But,
planning and zoning.
That's
They did it.
planning.
It's their.
Okay. This is what I asked Will to ask John, to give an opinion on this, Chapter 16, zoning and planning, under C called plats. And the last part is, all sales or transfers of land shall be considered for development purposes unless, 4, the lot, tract, or parcel has been previously subdivided and is now proposed to be split into no more than 2 lots or tracts. And that's what I was trying to get information from John, whether that applied to us or not, in which case we could remove that middle line and leave it as 2 lots, which my interpretation is that this would allow us to do that. but I've gotten no opinion on that.
Reading this from.
Once again, it's a hypothetical. This council has to rescind it and then make that decision. They look at it, but really.
I don't know what you're saying by that. The replat has not been recorded, it's not
I think you were here
hypothetical.
when the council was here, and they approved your plat.
They approved
so-
it, but it has not been recorded, so it really doesn't. What, Caroline?
It's really effective. If you sold something now, you'd be penalized financially.
So even, what you're saying is, even though it hasn't been recorded for the purposes of
You sold
this
something-
council, it exists?
It exists, and then it can be abandoned. And I can't remember the times, it can be as low as 3 and I think 5 years or something.
It's 5 years.
Or we can repeal it, but we'd have
Yeah.
to actively
Yeah.
rescind it.
So I didn't want to get involved in a hypothetical.
Right.
And not knowing what you guys wanted to do.
So what you're saying is you can't give an opinion until it's been rescinded,
Till you-
and they bring that
Till you
forward.
know what you're gonna do. And then
Okay.
part of that involved a cost discussion, I think, but.
Planning and zoning already made an opinion on.
Did planning and zoning issue an opinion on just that issue? Page 8, 9, 8, 9.
This is what Chris is saying. So they lost it.
Oh, yeah.
And this code is what the planning and zoning said that they, under this code, you cannot do that. This is how they lost it. And so. Reducing the flat amount. I'm not even sure that's what I'm.
Yeah.
Because you're just approving the easement.
So if we even were to rescind it, it would have to go back to planning and zoning for formal discussions and approval. We couldn't necessarily move forward with anything, and that's, I don't know, it's whatever the council's wishes are on this matter. If it's the council's wishes to rescind previous decision and send it back to planning and zoning to be discussed, this proposal, you can do that. If you want to leave it as is, then it would, my understanding, require the sewer infrastructure be in place.
The timing is up to them. I mean, the marketability, you bring a buyer and you're gonna say, this is some of the requirements, I think. And then, timing, when they do it, I mean, it's all negotiable. But I think the city should stay out of it. That's my recommendation, unless you rescind your, it's private property and.
Right.
I mean, we have to follow the United Land Development Code. I mean, you can't
ULDC.
break that.
Right.
I'm sorry, Keith, I didn't understand. What did you say?
He said that they can't break this code.
Oh,
I mean, we gotta follow the law.
It's a national code that,
But how was it followed before when it was good? That's my.
Well, when it was,
It's because when they split yours off, then it null and voided where the sewer was. That's what the planning and zoning commission, if you read that on their letter, that's what it says. If you go
But
to
that
page
follows the state law?
that's followed,
8, and the cities as well. An adopted code.
By antidote, this by antidote, and I think the council, prior council has made some allowances, cost shared some things, based on non-disclosure and surprise. But that was actually before my time, before my second time.
So I understand that the sewer has to be put in, but my biggest question is, if we market it as 3 properties moving forward, can it be as that the buyer is borne that expense because there's not a set timeline to get that sewer installed? Or is there something saying that Joanne has to pay for it as the current owner in the next 6 months?
That's my point, no, they control that. If they don't do anything for 5 years, goes away, there's no plat.
But if it sells in 3 years from now, as long as she discloses to the buyer that they have to put in sewer infrastructure, they can do that at the time of property transfer.
I think so.
So we would have to send the other
Yeah.
plat.
Well, that would just be in a matter of marketability at that point, as long as the buyer was aware.
The buyer's always been aware, even the way that it currently sits, because it's never had sewer. So all of the potential people that have called asking
already
about
know.
it already know because they want to develop it to put something there. So at this point, it's already been disclosed that way for the last 5 years. We were just trying to make sure she didn't have, like I said, 6 months or a year to her go put this in, because what if it doesn't sell for 5 years? We don't know that.
I don't think it's required. You could also come back, ask for some type of financing mechanism to the city.
And I think that that should be done by the buyer, because what they're gonna do with it and what Joanne would put in, I mean, she could spend all that money and they could go rip it out because maybe it wouldn't be big enough. I mean, that seems silly.
So, I mean, are you reassured by the fact that?
I'm okay with that answer, because
this
I know
is-
how to
yeah.
move forward. Are you?
I'm okay with it. I'm just confused. I'm just wondering if this Plat 4, C4, is in conflict with the national code? I mean, why do you even have it in here then? If it wouldn't apply. But yeah, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, but we
Is
have
it-
it right there.
My understanding, and this is not a legal opinion, obviously, is that it does apply, just not in this instance, because of the preceding things that have occurred. Is that correct?
That's a fair statement.
Because it was already replatted
Okay.
and split.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next on the agenda, we have the Convention and Tourism request Pony Park name. It says Wayne.
Good evening. In the 1990s, the Kansas Department of Transportation and the Tourism Division and the Parks and Wildlife Division developed the Byways of Kansas program. And so you have scenic byways and historic byways that encourage those of us who live in the state, as well as those of us who are outside of the state, to look at our state and explore our state differently. Well, a couple of years ago, when Toby was in this position, they started to work on the Pony Express Historic Byway. And it's come to our attention that's about to become official. So we'll be adding a new byway that takes us right through Marysville. And so the timing for this, in my mind, is perfect. If you don't know a lot about our byways, the new byways catalog just came into my office. You can pop down to get one. They're great because they give people another idea of why I should be traveling this Pony Express Historic Byway. So as we do that, the timing might be great to make sure we all know what to call that area around the Pony Express horse and rider statue. In chatting with Cindy, we said Pony Park seems to make sense. And when we give something a definitive name, then it becomes a proper noun, and we all know, whether you're someone who lives in town or whether you're someone who's visiting our town, you know exactly where to go.
What's everyone's thoughts? I mean, what do you call it in kind of daily life?
Totally
I've always
okay
called
with
it Pony
whatever.
Park.
Pony Park's great.
It's pretty obvious why it's Pony Park. There's a big
But
pony.
anybody
Yeah.
can figure out where the pony is from here.
I make a motion, we officially name it Pony Park.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we officially designate the park in the 7th Street corridor with the pony statue, Pony Park. Any further discussion?
Has there been any interest from the community all calling in, offering names, or since, because I know we discussed this
Right.
previously, there's been no interest from any other citizens to rename it?
I think
as far as you know?
everybody probably assumed that it was always named
That's a lot of
Pony Park.
it.
That's the only question I have. I'm okay with it.
All right. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we have a Pony Park. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, if you have questions about our financial requests, I can certainly answer those as well.
They're not in the consent, they're here.
Gotcha.
Hearing none, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
That's
Wayne.
fine.
Do they need approved here as well? Anybody like to move to approve those
Move
funding
to-
requests?
Move to approve.
Convention and Tourism's request, $4,550.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Approved. Next, we have the ADA parking stall at 605 Broadway. Is Dave Richardson here? Thank you.
Well, I think most of you probably know me. I'm David Richardson. I work for CES Group right now. Rob is starting to go forward with his new office down there that was tore down. And we did meet with the Planning Commission, or I met with the Planning Commission a week ago, the first meeting of the month, yeah. We were discussing the ADA parking down there. In the one site plan we showed the Planning Commission, we had a handicap stall in that southern off-street parking area. I made the comment if we would be able to change it to that first stall on Main Street. At that time, nobody knew who you would request that to. We thought maybe it was to the governing body. So I just told him I would go and get with Cindy. I would see if we have to make a request to you people to put that on Broadway. And she told me to just make a request like I did. So that's the reason I'm here.
I know there's some concern about it being on brick.
Well, I think it goes to the UDLC that we just said, Jeff just said, that's a national thing that we've adopted, and that says it can't be on brick, so it has to be on the other street.
It hasn't been that many years ago. All these ADA parking stalls on Broadway were put in.
Yeah. I was just gonna question
Where
that.
are
What
they?
about all the other
Because they're
ADA?
existing.
Every one of them is on brick. Not one of them that I know of, because the snow just got off most of them, have even a van parking stall attached to them. Some of them don't even have a sign out there. Some don't have a sign at the right height.
Existing. They've been existing for quite a while.
Okay?
The only alternative was to the street. I mean,
Not all of them been existing for a while. The one down there at the grocery store, Identities, has not been in that long. And it was put in the middle of the block, and
You can get permission for that?
I don't know where they all got permission from.
I'd have to research that. I'm sorry, I don't know.
I don't see anything that there is an ordinance, like parking ordinances, which I think you ought to have something like an ordinance for somebody
Like Sheree
to,
just said, that has probably been there since it was a grocery store.
it was when Joey had it, so that's not been that many years ago.
Pardon me?
It hadn't been that many. Joe, I think it was put in,
Cromie had it.
Yeah.
When Downard's was there.
it wasn't there when Downers was there.
It wasn't there when Downard's was there.
No.
Banks was there. They had
No.
that open door parking, handicap parking out there.
But see, there's no place to go back and see when these were all put in.
The question I would have is why did you decide the 6th Street side wasn't as good of a location?
Wasn't as good?
Yeah, why the preference for the?
For the distance to the
Broadway?
front door. Your code also says you should put it in a place that is closest to the front, main entrance of the place.
And that west entrance is not a public entrance in the new building?
No,
I saw there were 2, so that's why I wondered.
I think the stall would even be, it's not that anybody, I bet very few people use it to come in to see us. I would say that health clinic will probably have more people use it than anybody else.
I think one thing to keep in mind is you'll be taking, essentially restricting 2 spaces on the street for only handicap parking. Bear in mind that you can't park there unless you have a handicap sticker, so that's one issue. The other thing is there is an off-street parking requirement that the builder is required to comply with beginning at the time of construction of this building, which is a far different situation from, with the advent of ADA and the requirement to provide ADA accessible parking. That occurred long after the brick streets were put there and long after storefronts were in place that didn't have off-street parking. There was no other way to do it. It's not optimum, but there was no alternative, unlike this present situation where there is. I just want to point that out in all fairness to the issue, because clearly handicap parking spots on bricks, such as what we have on Main Street, is far from an ideal situation. It's the city's best faith effort, if you will, to comply with the regulation that was in effect. And to allow this, I think, would call into question whether that is and that is the standard that the feds hold for this, is good faith effort. Is that a good faith effort or not to allow a handicap parking spot that could otherwise go off-street on a brick street?
Move to approve ADA parking stall on the first corner of Broadway and 6th.
Second.
Okay, does anyone else have any discussion over the matter?
I think we're ignoring Jeff's, ignoring Jeff's insight into this by
That wouldn't be
allowing
the
it to
first
go
time
on. Huh?
I said that wouldn't be the first time that's ever happened.
I know it wouldn't be.
Does it have a sloped entrance for the sidewalk to where a wheelchair could go up? Or
On
is
the
that
corner.
something else?
It's got the whole corner.
There is
Where
one on the
there's
corner?
ADA ramps.
I didn't know if there was or not.
And I don't feel like that block is a huge issue with parking in the middle of the day. I'm not gonna lie to you, working downtown,
Right.
that is the least parked on block in all of downtown. You get what I'm saying? So even if you take 2 spots right there, it's not, I don't know.
If we allow it, we're bypassing the federal regulations that we approved.
And then it just opens us up to somebody
Yes.
else saying, well, you did this,
Yes.
now why can't we?
Okay, but let me go back to the meeting I wasn't at when Krista was here about her parking spots.
Yeah, I wasn't at
That
that one
opened
too.
that up to everybody else in down, now, maybe the wagon will come and request that. You know what I mean? Like, so it's
Exactly.
and I'm not going to do that, but I feel like it's a business oriented, like you just have to play it. How do I word this? Each case is a different case.
And you know, you look at downtown Marysville has always been historically brick streets.
Right.
And it's been brick streets forever.
With the
The
excep-
ADA stuff
yeah.
is on Main Street have been brick, you know. What are we gonna do, tear up every place there's an ADA ramp now and put concrete in? Or
Not-
ADA parking spot
Right.
and put concrete in for them?
Not a value statement on which way this should go, but the planning and zoning did say they wanted it on 6th Street.
Right, exactly.
So, I mean, we are
They-
overriding their choice.
The planning and zoning has not approved anything. They did not vote,
They
that,
didn't-
that site plan was only taken to them as a preliminary plan to get their input on what, if we needed something else on that plan. Doesn't matter what, you can put whatever Will wrote, but there was no motions made or nothing that meeting. We haven't taken an official site plan to him. That's why, yes, we had a different site plan at that time, but when we wanted to present this to you, we made one this way.
When,
I don't know why you'd have to take 2 parking stalls. If the parking stalls downtown are 10 foot, like your ULDC says, 10 to 12 foot wide, you only need the extra 3 foot, which is plenty of room to the west, and that whole no parking area right there can be your unloading zone. But I don't know why it needs to be an unloading zone when not one up the street has one. But it can be used.
According to what Will sent us, is that if you only have one disability parking space, it must be van accessible, so it must meet the minimum dimensions for all van accessible parking spaces, shall be 13th in width and 20th in depth, and have a 5-foot wide unloading zone.
Yes.
Is it 5 foot wide for the full length of the vehicle? The only reason I ask is because I wondered
usually.
dimensionally if the crosswalk can be used as that, because you're gonna have a triangle, kind of a rhombus shape there, whether that could cause an interference. I don't know the gray area of that geometrically. I guess my thought would be as well, is this a decision that needs made tonight? Soon? How soon do you need this decision
We'd
if
like
it's
to
something
get
that
on,
requires more study?
we'd like to
or
get back to the next planning commission with a real site plan. But we can leave the AD
Just-
out of it.
Just asking.
We can leave the handicap stall out of it if we want.
Dave, if they put it on 6th Street, does that change the size of the building to have enough width to get down the sidewalk?
No.
Okay,
The length would interfere with that, because it has to go back to 20 feet, not 18.
okay. Just asking.
Yes.
Is there any other further discussion? There's a motion on the table. Okay, all those in favor of the motion to allow for the handicap space on Broadway side, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Motion carries.
7-1.
Anything else you want to tell us, Dave?
No.
Okay,
Anything you want me to tell you?
we don't have time for all that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dave.
All right, next item on the agenda is the storm siren quote.
Have we ever had one on that side of town, a storm siren?
It's a replacement.
I'll move to approve
Does-
storm
does-
siren.
Okay, go ahead.
Go ahead, I
The
can.
motion.
No, I'm just kind of wondering how it hasn't worked for the last 6 years?
Just the words.
So just the words, it hasn't worked, but does it still make a noise? Okay. Because I live out there and I hear it, what's the first Wednesday of the month or whenever it is?
Whenever it runs.
It just doesn't talk to you after it goes off.
No, I think that,
Yeah.
I got my opinion, but I think that, the siren going off is good enough for me.
You have a comment about the siren, Dave?
I was one that got all input in out there. That siren out there on that corner is the original old siren that was on top of the central school building. Okay? It run for several years out there, but it has not run for several years right now because the belts are taken off the thing. The housing down there froze up before I left, and I think we got some quotes, but it didn't seem like anybody wanted to push to get a new one at that time, so. I had explained all that to Will, and he put in to see about getting it replaced.
It still makes noise.
Can't.
There's no bell.
Motor don't work. There ain't no belts on the motor.
I've heard it.
You're probably hearing the one at the water tower.
Well, maybe so, but
Yeah, right, there's one right up there by, is it real loud at your house?
yes.
Yeah,
But at the rural water tower, is there one there?
well, the city one.
City tower.
City now.
Yeah, well, that,
Yeah, by the motel.
rural water tower. that
Yes,
belongs
there's
to
one at
city.
that location there.
So that's probably what you're hearing.
Well, I know, but we gotta put a storm siren in for, I'm gonna stop. You know,
Say yes.
I'm with you.
taxpayers that, get to drive down a mud road every day, so leave it at that.
Well, there's a motion.
I really didn't come to help out with everything, but I can if you need it.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks, I
Dave.
appreciate them.
Yeah, I
Get it
didn't
out of me
talk to my
before I
brother-in-law,
forget.
that's why he moved. I don't either.
There's a motion on the table, but no second.
No, that's correct.
Just putting it out there.
I'll second it, just to see where it goes.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to move forward with the purchase of the storm siren. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Okay, I'm gonna have to see the.
Let's do it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, let's show me hands.
Everyone said
Who's
aye.
yes?
Put your right hand up, please.
For which one?
For aye. Ayes.
Yes. we
Ayes,
want
raise
a-
your
we
right
want a
hand.
Storm siren. That want it? Green, Lori, yes, green.
Make sure you get that breakdown. You got it?
So, yeah.
The motion fails.
Yeah, 3-5.
Okay. All right, next on the agenda, the compact tractor. Dom?
Thank you. Before I start, I'm just gonna pass these sheets out to you guys. It's a little easier to read than what you got probably. Basically, the last two. The last 2 pages is basically this.
I think it's the same technical, it's just in different format.
All right. So basically what we're trying to do is replace our compact tractor. The current tractor we have is a 40 horsepower New Holland, and it's got about 2,900 hours on it. I believe it's a 2000 model. So about 24 years old. It's done its job. It's starting to get a little weak in some spots, but back in October, I went to get some bids. I went to everyone here in town, and the only one that I got a bid back from was John Deere, so I went to Can Equip in Wamego. I know you guys, this Can Equip doesn't sell Kubota, so I went to get a Kubota bid down there. And then just this last week or so, I got a New Holland bid from Roars up in Beatrice. That's the 3 bids. You can look through all the spec sheets and all that other stuff I put on there. Basically, it's all summed up on this last sheet, the 3 different tractors. The one thing I forgot to add, I just looked at this tonight. They all have a, I figured you'd probably ask about it, so. The John Deere and the New Holland had 6-year warranties. I believe the John Deere was 2,000 hours and the New Holland was unlimited. And then the Kubota was a 3-year, 2,000-hour warranty. We use our tractor to do dirt work. The majority of what we use it for is dirt work, tree cleanup. After the tornado, one of our employees brought his personal tractor in, which had a grapple, and it really worked good to get into a lot of spots where we couldn't get with our bigger 80 horsepower tractor. The recommendation I'm making is the John Deere 44 horsepower tractor, simply because if you look at the specs, as far as the loader capacity, 3-point hitch capacity, the weight of the tractor, which in turn helps you load more, let's say, brush into your dump truck or dump trailer. That is quite a bit higher than the 40 horse New Holland Workmaster. I did look into the Workmaster makes I believe it's 50, 60, and 70 horse. But then you're getting into a lot bigger frame. We use our compact tractor in the cemetery a lot, and it helps to be a certain size to get in the stones and not run into stuff. So, they also offered us more on a return for our current tractor. I didn't get an idea on the Kubota how much they would give up. I just kind of gave you guys a ballpark there The low end was 6,000 and the high end was 10,000 as a return. I'm trying to think if I covered everything. I'm sure I'm leaving some things out. I don't know if you guys have read through all this yet, but that would be our recommendation, unless you guys have any other questions or comments.
Where's this tractor gonna live at? When
It's
not
in the
being used?
cemetery. In our lower shop, the reason, we had talked in years before about a tractor with a cab. We keep it in our lower shop, and it's a 7-foot door. You can, take the roll bar and bend it down, so it fits in there. It's about the same height as the current one we have.
That's what I was gonna say, is it will fit in the building.
It's nice. We used to put it in the shed without any heat, but it's kinda, when you wanna use it in the winter, getting them hydraulics warmed up is a little bit, so we try and keep it. I like to keep everything in a heated shop, but that's not always the case, so. Yeah, if you guys have any questions, I'll try my best to answer them.
What amount did we budget for this?
The budget,
How much?
35,000.
yeah, and if you wanna break that
Just for the
down.
tractor, not with any of the implements, so you're within your number.
Yeah.
Right, so for just the tractor, you would be, with the John Deere, it would be 28,905 would be coming out of our pocket, and 27 cents, whatever. And then the implements, the one that we really would like to have would be the root rake. The snow blade isn't a complete necessity. We have a snow blade for our Bobcat skid loader that the water department owns it, and they let us borrow it to plow the cemetery. And that could be an option too, if we get the skid plate attachment, and then it's just a hydraulic connection to adapt to it. If they're not using it, obviously, so.
Move to approve the John Deere tractor for $39,440.90 after the $10,000 trade-in value.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved in second. Is there any further discussion on the tractor purchase?
Any chance at all to get more than 10 grand out of selling it on the market?
Do you think surplusing it would yield any?
Well, it's an option. I mean, putting it up on, what we've done in the past, Purple Wave and stuff, you know, I mean, just like any auction, you can, it's a.
There's no reserve on there, is that correct? So you
Correct.
get what you get.
Yeah, you're gonna get what the highest bid is. You can't protect it. I know there's probably other places we could try to, put it out there to see if you could get more out of it. Then you would have to come up with the 49,000 original, you know.
Is 10,000 a pretty fair price?
I would say so, yeah.
I'm not a tractor guy.
Yeah, I know a little bit, but it's a little bit beat up. I mean, the front hood's kinda smashed in a little bit, and mechanically it works. Sometimes it can be a little hard to get into 4-wheel drives. We've had a few electrical issues with it starting. I think we've had some guys from Can-Equip come out and work on it before. It just started leaking fuel around the injectors, which I assume is just a gasket, but.
Well, and I'd like to, to that point, we have some issues with it recently as well. Hard to engage 4-wheel drive electrical issues to prevent it from starting, and leaks fuel around the injectors. To me, that's maintenance in my mind. Before we just decide that that's a reason to buy a new piece of equipment, but that's all I have to say.
Okay, yeah, and it's getting to the point. We, I think when Austin was here, we made these 5-year vehicle replacement plans, and he came to me in, I don't know, whenever, before he left, September, and said, go get some bids on these tractors, so.
This was specifically line item in the budget as well.
Colleen, you might want to include in your motion specifically the grapple and the snow blade, if you don't mind.
with the grapple and the snow blade and the loader and the third function, all included for $39,440.90.
I'll resecond that.
Appreciate it. Okay, any other discussion on it?
You guys want me to leave or stick around or?
Well, might hang on a second. Keith's got something to say.
We talked about where we all can save money, this and that, but yet we're spending 7,000 more on another tractor. We're picking the middle of the road bid instead of the lowest bid. Now, how can we sit here and say, well, we gotta try to save money, but we're not?
I know nothing about tractors, so when somebody tells me that this is their opinion on a tractor, I totally agree with them, because I have no clue.
It's the city's money that we're
I
playing
have
with.
no clue.
We ought to be picking the lowest bids.
But I think you're also getting more tractor for what you're paying for.
More tractor, we're getting more
When
for
you're
the
getting more
trade-in,
By how?
and more money,
We,
more trade-in value on this one.
Weight-wise, it holds a lot more.
Yes.
And that the cheapest option, the cheapest bid, that's the one from Roars, is that correct?
yes, that's
So-
up in Beatrice.
We're not even buying in the state of Kansas.
Well, if you don't wanna save money, that's fine.
I mean, that's a John Deere here.
Yeah, just west of town.
I'm a business owner here, and I always keep my money.
I mean, you can't tell four more horsepower from one tractor to another.
No, but I'm
The
talking
weight capacity.
your
is
lifting
big difference.
capacity, your 3-point capacity, your pump flow.
I mean, that's all.
I mean, it's just,
It's, numbers
I
are.
think it's worth it. I know, and the John Deere is the only one we got to drive as a demo. And then we were all pretty impressed with it. That's just our opinion.
I mean, if you wanna spend $7,000 more, that's fine.
Okay, so
But I don't wanna hear anything where we have to try to save money from anybody when we're not doing it.
Well, and I never did get a bid from, I went and talked to your boss back in October, and I never heard back from him. So,
But to your point, not buying it here, but how many times do we go out of town to buy stuff?
I didn't say about buying
No,
it here.
I said that.
Oh, you
Yeah.
said that.
Yeah, I just said
Okay.
Roars is in Nebraska.
and the Kubota was out of Wamego. It's Can-Equip still, but
For $7,000, if we keep the cemetery guys happy, and they're one that they prefer for
I'd rather put the
$7,000.
$7,000 to some street.
Looks like Landmark's at a Holdridge.
I think that where their corporate headquarters is.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Point taken.
no.
Well, is there any further discussion? All those in favor of moving forward with the purchase of the John Deere, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
5-3.
5-3.
Yep, 5-3.
5-3, motion passes. All right, next item on the agenda is the ordinance for 20-minute parking. This is in response to, I believe it was our just previous meeting.
2 meetings ago.
Was it 2 meetings?
Yep.
Okay, you're right.
I think a lot of us were.
There was some discussion, there's a request from the Sunflower Clinic regarding timed parking in front of their facilities for the ease of use of people who are patronizing the clinic. And so this was drafted in response to that. I believe as part of that, we were a little unsure about what ordinances were in place for the one at, is it RX?
RX is 15
15-minute
minutes.
And it's set out by ordinance in the same manner as this?
Yes,
or-
this amends the same ordinance.
Okay.
I will point out, the clerk really helped me out on this. They had several ideas when they came in. One, you could criminalize it, they're parking behind their building. You could criminalize it, bring it to city court, because you can't really tow it because it's too narrow. And then this is a 20-minute, and talking to the clerk, you can, if you just made it specifically for this one business, well, my business could, I got a handicap rep, I need handicap parking, and so this really is a kind of a catch-all for all 20-minute parking, so, for unique cases, so it's something that council wanted drafted and for their consideration, and right now it's just for the two, and there's a good picture in the packet. It's right in front of the building, and I believe one person called in and talked to the clerks and where am I gonna park? Well, there are other spots, I mean, on that lawn, on that side of the street, so there is parking available, other spots, it'd only eliminate two.
And it is only during the hours of,
It's supposed to be 12 to 5, I thought we talked about, but it says 1 to 5 in the ordinance.
That's an easy fix, I thought, well,
Yep.
we're just, yeah.
So who's gonna police this?
Well, if it's an ordinance, the police would ticket.
There's an
correct?
ordinance
like
that
any
says you
place,
can't
other
park a car
places.
for more than 24 hours on the street too, and it's been
well,
probably 2 weeks since we've had snow, and there's still cars parked behind the snow piles, so.
I would say it's fair to expect it would be enforced on a complaint basis. I don't anticipate the police department will be doing
actively.
real active enforcement.
I mean, I know when we talked about it, and I know Lori brought it up, that a lot of other businesses would wanna have this as well. My only thing with that is this is a medical clinic, it's not all the time, it's not, it's, I don't know, what is it, 5 hours of time, and then it's open again.
I know, but
for a
I
medical
get why
assistant.
she needs them, but at the same time, you have the RSVP clinic where all the elderly people go in for their Medicare appointments and all that. So, they can still use these spots. You know what I mean? So,
Sure.
even if it's only 20 minutes.
Yeah,
But I don't want it to be an issue when it's
Right.
somebody going down there using the spots.
Right, it's anybody's
Yeah,
swing
it's
minutes.
anybody, yeah, we can't specifically
Yeah.
say for Sunflower, no,
Yeah, 'cause
yeah.
they could get their hair done.
Yeah.
Well, in the event the police did respond to a complaint, it would have been,
It'd have to be
it
your
would have
hair
been
or
a
my
half
hair.
an hour.
Yeah, exactly.
Right,
What was that, Jeff? I didn't.
I say, in the
You'd have
event
to
the
be-
police did respond to a complaint, that vehicle would have probably been there for a half an hour minimally before the police arrived and started the count over again. So-
and enforceability, I believe, is always a concern, but it's a lot of, hopefully people read the sign and think, oh, I should move along quickly and not park for the whole day there, ideally.
That's a good point, it does have to be posted.
Right.
So whose responsibility is it to put signs up?
I assume we would.
Cities.
It'd be the city's.
We'd have
Just
to
like we did in
install-
front of RX and the post office. We have to buy the sign.
Buy the signs and install the posts.
Does it have to be 2? Can we start with 1 and see how it goes? Your decision.
Move to approve ordinance 1925.
With
Second.
Okay, are you?
Who seconded that, Jeff?
Jeff did.
Yeah.
It was discussed that maybe the intent of the council was originally noon to 5. Do you want to leave it as 1 to 5 here or amend it
Noon.
Noon to 5, yeah.
Meaning,
with that amended?
Okay.
Yes, with that amended to noon to 5.
And for 2 spaces, just to confirm. Okay? Is there further discussion? All those in favor of the, wait, gotta be roll call. It's an ordinance, right? Roll call.
Oh, you caught that.
Caught it before you
Look
did.
at you, Todd. Okay, this is ordinance 1925, in case anybody is questioning. Snellings,
Yes.
Ferris. Yes. Barons,
No.
Keating,
Yes.
Bikeman,
yes.
Crom. No. Schrader,
Yes.
Brackey.
Yes.
6-2.
6-2, okay. Ordinance carries, and I assume you'll get with street crew on getting signs and everything put in place? Okay, I see no notices and hearings. So moving on to the consent agenda.
Move to approve consent agenda.
Second.
Okay, so moved in second. Is there any further discussion on the consent agenda? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? So we have presentation of appropriations ordinance number 3815.
Move to approve appropriation ordinance number 3815 in the amount of $692,820.
$22.88.
Okay, appropriations ordinance moved and seconded, roll call?
Stellings?
Yes.
Ferris?
Yes.
Barons?
Yes.
Keating?
Yes.
Spikeman?
Yep.
Rom?
Yes.
Schrader?
Yes.
Gracky?
Yes.
8-0.
Thank you. Have no staff reports that I'm aware of, so we'll move on to the
have one
Oh,
thing.
do you have something to add, Jeff?
Just a heads up, in conjunction with the Highway 77 paving project, Kent has pointed out or come forward with concerns about the condition of the 18-inch sanitary sewer that runs on the west side of Highway 77, north of that intake that has the cones in front of it, if you might have noticed it. So it runs from Oak Street north to the inlet up there in the Phase 1 improvements about 95 feet north of Park Drive. So that whole stretch, Ken has concerns about the possibility that it may have been damaged as a result of the previous project. So we have contracted to have that scoped, and depending on what the results of that would be, it may be necessary to replace that stretch of pipe in conjunction with the second phase of the Highway 77 project. We hope that's not the case, but if it is, this is obviously the time to do it. So we'll see what that scoping produces. I did get a preliminary cost estimate for that storm sewer replacement. It's not cheap. It would be somewhere in the $70,000 to $75,000 range. There are other potential benefits that could come as a result of the replacement if that's necessary, and one is to get a better elevation to get more flow, more gravity flow coming down there. That would be particularly effective if the city were to scoot across the streets and make some improvements to the pipe, if you will, and the inlets that extend south once you get over by the football field, south down to the outflow there, because there are some issues with that configuration there, including the fact you have some smaller, larger pipes moving in, flowing into smaller ones. That's a large project. That's a several $100,000 project. I don't see that that's probably in the works here, but if, that's something that could be considered to be a benefit of the replacement of that pipe on 77, if indeed it's found to be necessary to do that. So,
Would any portion of this be an eligible expense as part of the greater project?
I'm not entirely sure on that. There is a potential for some cost savings elsewhere in the project, though there are some services that currently are on an 8-inch sewer line that crosses 77 at Jackson Street. If that line could be abandoned and those services connected to the new 12-inch interceptor, then the upgrades to that 8-inch line could be done away with, and that savings of $33,000, I am told in my last conversation with Daniel, would accrue to the city. I need more clarification on that because that's sanitary sewer. I'm not sure how a KDOT grant savings accrues to the city. So we will check back on that, but the other aspect of that thing, for whatever reason, it probably makes sense to abandon that 8-inch line and move those services to the new 12-inch anyway. But if that's done, that's going to be at the cost of the city. So we're also trying to figure out at least some cost estimates for what that work might be. These decisions don't have to be made yet, but they're going to have to be made in the next 6 weeks or so to get into the final design for that project, because I think the timeline is to go to bid on that sometime in April or so. So that's just a heads up on that.
What was the previous project that might have damaged it?
The first phase of the 77 replacement, where it went from Broadway to
The first north
Spring?
entrance of the school.
Right.
Yeah.
Or of the park.
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah. kind of Spring
So,
Street-ish.
are they going all the way to the bridge when they replace? And
I
We
believe
have
that,
found that out, finally, at that meeting. They will go to the bridge, and we do own it, so.
well, that's mixed blessing. It is, the worst section is the section right before the bridge.
And that's what they said, they said.
At least
"Why
we have
did do this?"
clarity.
We didn't.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's the other part. I mean, the good news is this project is going according to schedule. We had some minor excitement associated with a rumor out in the field that the grant had been increased by $250,000. We've since determined that wasn't the case. That was staffers was the engineer, I think. So that sounded good for a while, but too good to be true. So I think the city's outlay on this project net is what, somewhere in the $300,000 range, something like that. Of course, that could be impacted with this storm sewer, depending on what we find out. That's all I have.
Thank you, Jeff.
thanks.
Ties in pretty well with the first of the standing committee reports. Street.
Yes,
I know you always do.
you knew you ought to have
I
something.
knew it.
I was talking to Gary, and our trees downtown are hitting our plow trucks.
Or
They're
the
not
trees
gonna-
are hitting the plow trucks, or the
Going
plow
to-
trucks are hitting the trees?
No, the trees are hanging out far enough on the Broadway
Shop of
side
horrors here.
that they're tearing the mirrors off the plow trucks.
Let's get them trimmed.
So, with the previous trees that were there, did that not happen? Are these trees a different type?
They're taller.
Or just haven't grown?
Yeah.
And so you have to care how you prune it.
Can we talk to our, well, do we talk to our arborist, or do we talk to our tree board about how to judiciously do it and hopefully kind of
Yeah.
strike a balance? You don't wanna
Yeah, I
cause
don't
the
wanna
trees.
butcher them up, no, but just like Gary said, we don't wanna keep replacing.
Is it all of them? Or is it some of them worse than others?
Some of them are worse than
Some are
others,
younger
except-
than others.
Yeah, yeah.
They're different kinds.
They're
Yeah,
different
oh, that's
types,
true.
yeah. So, food for thought.
No, that seems fair.
Notify the tree board.
I was gonna say, the tree board's looking for purpose. Here's some purpose.
There you go.
Okay.
Get an arborist or a tree specialist to tell them how to proceed trimming them.
Yeah, not the crew that Evergy uses.
No, that's what I was gonna say, because you get Evergy and they just chop off the whole side. Call it good.
All right. Anything else?
Oh,
Kevin?
yeah, I got all sorts of things.
All right.
Cars parked on Broadway during snow removal. We have signs up for them.
Mm-hmm.
They're not getting moved, so guess what? They're making big swaths around them on Broadway, and then the snow lays there.
Mm-hmm.
And the same thing on the highway, US 77. Friday night when we got the big snow, cars were on the south side of the highway. They didn't hardly plow any of that. It's posted emergency snow route. They need to be ticketed and moved.
My understanding is we have towed some cars. Is that correct?
We've towed a couple.
A few?
I don't have a full report on the enforcement action that took place following the last council meeting when this was mentioned. And of course, there was a major snowstorm, but I will get back with the chief and we'll redouble our message and effort there.
I agree. That's important.
It's important to get the streets clean.
Yeah.
Keep rolling.
Go ahead.
Safe routes to school. Nice program we implemented many years ago. You're supposed to keep your sidewalks clean so kids can walk to school. I turned in a list down here the other snowstorm of 8 people. What is so hard to scoop your sidewalk? Businesses downtown do it, people do it in the residential, but the ones around the schools cannot get them scooped. Do we need to get somebody up there to help them, or what's the deal? I don't know.
Are any of them elderly? Is there?
It's a little bit of an issue. I think it's 12 hours, correct? I mean, if I'm
12
wrong.
hours
12
after
hours.
after the snow stops,
Stops.
or 12 hours after the next morning after it stops, depending on.
But
where
some
it's
of
at
them
in
were
the-
there 4 days and
Yeah.
didn't get scooped.
Right.
But,
And I,
but do you consider blowing it all the time, considering the snow stopping?
Well, that was the
I
other
mean,
issue.
we got pretty much clarify that,
If there's school, they need to be cleaned, Keith.
but the school's not in session. I
School
mean,
was in session and they weren't
they were
scooped.
called off, okay? If it's blowing as bad as you shovel, then it blows back a couple hours later, do we just wait till it completely stops blowing or just stop snowing?
Well, the policy says if the snow falls or ice accumulates upon sidewalks in the nighttime, removal of same must be made within 12 hours after sunrise of the following day.
So 12 hours after it feels.
I mean, I did mine 4 times just because it
I
kept
had
blowing.
somebody do mine 4 times.
That's because it kept blowing.
Yeah.
So, do we do it after it stops blowing or snowing?
So,
It says snow.
I think there's people who are being neglectful, and I do think there are some
There are some
older
that- I
residents who
agree.
it's difficult. I mean,
But
it's-
every year is different. I mean, I never seen so many days in a row where it blew this hard.
yeah, this was
I mean-
a little unique in recent years.
I mean, the city has the authority to move in on the 13th hour, but I don't think in this past event, we were gonna go out 4 days in a row. It wouldn't have been priority for our
It would've been
resources.
cold.
It wouldn't have made sense, because we're,
So what is the process when, somebody turns in a list of, do we make calls, do we send letters?
Will go up to the property in
We'll
person.
do it in person?
If you can, and that's what he was doing today, actually. And if you can't reach somebody, then he has notices that are pre-printed that he leaves. So he's being pretty responsive, I would say.
Yeah.
Give or take your opinion on how soon after the last event we should have been there. And I don't realize opinions vary on that, but.
Right.
Starting today.
So do we need to add with, stop snowing, blowing and drifting?
I think there's a lot of it that can be, this is my personal opinion,
Keep
dealt
it
with.
black and white, keep
Yeah.
it black and white.
But it dealt with in the enforcement, as far as, I don't think we need to go cracking the whip. It's a lot about education. I don't think a lot of people were even aware. I shared some on social media about it, and I asked the city, put it on Facebook, and it got shared a lot.
Yep, it did.
Because people didn't know. So I think a lot of it is that, getting people
I agree
to
with
know.
what Kevin's saying. I mean, it's not that hard to shovel, but when it's blowing that hard consecutive days, it's hard to
Keep it up.
And it's a balance. We want to make sure kids have a safe way to walk to school. But we also want to show grace to residents who might be struggling with that, or just being able to get out and do such things. Especially because when you get a break, you go scoop it, and then it was a cycle, so.
Go ahead.
Are residents allowed to use salt on the sidewalks? Is that something?
As far as I know.
I know it can damage concrete, so I didn't know.
Especially new concrete, but yeah.
But still
But
driving
it's their
around.
sidewalk, so if they want
Yeah,
to.
they're responsible for the
But
maintenance.
still
of the
driving
sidewalk.
around today, there's a lot of sidewalks in the city of
And-
Marysville that are not scooped.
And I'll tell you the truth,
Now, that's a legitimate claim for me. That's,
I have a lot
but I just
concerns.
don't agree when it just keeps snowing or blowing as hard as it does for consecutive days in a row. To me, that's like it's still snow.
Right, well, I understand. And to me also, there's a concern with businesses, I feel like can be treated a little differently than residences on some of this. And, I've had a couple businesses complain that, well, the city snowplow plows at the intersection and then there's a massive pile, and what do you do with that? That's, to me, why we need a lot of flexibility in our enforcement and having these conversations with people. And, I don't know what our enforcement mechanism is, besides scooping it. I assume then we would bill for the time. I don't think we've ever done that. We don't have the manpower to do that.
The penalty's $25, but it also says we'll remove it and then bill it back, just like we do
It's mowing.
But
we prefer not be in that business, and for the most part, before we could get them done, they're gonna melt anyway, so.
So if all the vehicles are moved off of Main Street, I'm just trying to remember how they used to pile it in the center and then.
They do when they plow it and come back and pick up the piles.
Right. On Main Street too.
Main Street and the highway.
And the highway both.
And the highway, yes, I saw that, but I didn't get downtown when it was in Main Street to see if they actually did that. But they can't do that if there's cars on the street. And if they can do that, it would eliminate them, they'd get it piled up in the center and it wouldn't be up on the curbs, correct?
Well, they go by the curbs and,
Well, I mean,
the people that, okay, so I had to make a couple calls because people were taking their driveway and just plowing it.
down into the street. You can't do that. We do have a policy that says you can never remove your snow from private property and put it on city property. Not alleys, not streets, not nowhere. So, if, because downtown there's nowhere for them to go, if they do it before we've plowed the streets, the guys will plow it to that center and pick it up, because those businesses downtown. But, we never really had much trouble, Chad Rhodes and those guys were down there way early, and they got it into the center before we ever got down there. Right. But we do plow driveways shut, we have to. I mean, we do.
Oh, yeah, I know, mine was plowed shut a couple of times, so.
I had to clean the Hardee's one myself with a little bitty snow blower, cause the state plowed it in.
Yeah.
I couldn't get up my hill, so I had to go down. I was out there in the snow blower.
And this is the first real winter weather we've had in some years, so we're bound to find, remember these things and find the edges. But no, I think we probably will have another snow or two before the winter's over, and I would encourage anybody listening to, if it's one of those where you can help your neighbor, it kind of works nicely too. We've had a neighbor do ours and surprised me, and then my kids went and surprised me and cleared our neighbors, and I think that's a lot of it too, is if you don't have ability to do it, reach out. There's usually somebody in the community who'd be glad to help, so.
A lot of teenage
Kids
Yes.
looking, yeah.
Yeah, to make
A good way to make a buck and burn some energy.
And we do have people who call us, so if you want us to give them your name if you're a kid, call us, we'll give it to them. Here you go.
All right. Anything else, Kevin?
That's all I got, sir.
All right, anybody else on the street, Jeff?
I do have one thing, going back to, I appreciate the fact that you asked the interim city administrator to reach out to BG Consultants on the roads on 11th, 12th Keystone. I was really surprised about the response. I guess maybe my idea of government and elected officials voting on something and saying, hey, we're going to do this, we're going to sign this and move forward, is maybe doesn't happen here, because I think we voted on moving forward with the engineering of those roads. And apparently somebody at an elected position or administrative position decided, no, we're not going to do that, because the response that really stuck out to me was, no, we're going to worry about the 11th or the Highway 77 project. Understood. It's important. But how is it that something could be voted in public forum to move forward with, and then somebody makes a decision, no, we're not going to do that? I'm just asking the question. That's it. So I'll leave it at that.
Well, you bring up a point. It's a project that we can either move forward with, it sounds like from talking to BG, or not. Whether we're on the hook by our own actions or whether we're on the hook with them might be two different questions. Jeff,
Well,
you have some.
And I think the other comment was you put the horse before the cart. If you don't know what it's going to cost, how do you come up with how do you figure out a way to sell it to the community to come up with a funding scheme?
I understand that point of view now that I have a better understanding of this whole saga. Although I still believe that preliminary cost estimates can be obtained short of contracting and spending all the money for complete design. But having said that, to the question of how this could have not been executed, you're not asking me if I have the answer, but I just want to reassure all of you, if I had the answer to that, I would have offered it. I don't any more than, you all do. And I've thought a lot about this too, and it seems to me that what I should do in my position currently is request from BG Consultant the contract documents and bring them before the mayor to sign. And if the mayor chooses not to do that and bring it back to y'all, then, that's his decision. But, that would seem to me to be what I should be doing. I'm curious about anybody's thoughts on that. Because that's what I feel I should be doing, quite frankly.
I agree 100%. The council voted to move forward. That's the whole point of the vote. If you're voting to move it forward, it needs to move forward. I don't think anybody else should be saying, no, we're not gonna do that. That's just my opinion, but I think if the council as a body decides to do something and they vote to do it, it should be done.
And could it be more of, instead of do we want to look at it more of a, what's it gonna cost to get this project done? BG or whoever, and then let us do the footwork to figure out whether we can pay for it. Because if we can't pay for it, we can't pay for it.
And I think that footwork can begin, I mean, it seems to me on the financial part of it, as best I understand it, you're sort of starting at square one. So, okay, I think you can go with an estimate of what that's gonna cost of whatever, knowing that you're probably gonna have to turn a key or two that haven't been turned in a while, or haven't been considered to be turned, or maybe aren't even known about. So there's a broader discussion here that needs to occur and can occur concurrently with this design, and that is, let's talk about project financing here. You know, and we can start with the figure of $1 million or $2 million or $5 million, whatever you want to start with. I think essentially the variables are going to be the same. The values of them might be different depending on how much money we're talking about. But I think when you talk about a project of any size out there, especially when you approach the millions, you're probably talking about debt financing to some degree. At least you need to discuss it. You need to talk about a benefit district, probably, to some degree. You need to talk about your sales tax, your special sales tax money, and how it's being used and how you want it to be used in the future, and, you know, maybe something else. I don't think cash on hand is probably something that's there right now as a possible ingredient in the formula. But yeah, I think that's a discussion that can and should start now. Why lose any more time on this than what's been lost already?
Well, and I don't think it's just out there. I think it's projects in general.
I agree.
The property north of town, cottage, or the whatever, Breeding Heights. I think in general, we need to relook at the way we approach things. Because we can nickel and dime ourselves to death all day long trying to do 1,000 feet here, 500 feet here, a block here. And if we don't come up with a good long-term plan on how we're gonna approach that type of infrastructure, we're gonna keep getting what we get, because that's the way we always did it. I have nothing else, Todd.
Well, so I guess the council already voted, but is it the consensus of the council that we should move forward as far as with the original proposal with BG on this?
I mean, I wasn't there for that vote.
Right.
So, I mean, I would lean to the guys who were here for that, but it's my opinion that they were of the opinion that needed to happen, and I agree with it.
Okay. All right, does anybody else have anything on streets?
Yeah, on the snow removal from the center, I'd rather have them remove the snow off Center Street first before they do Broadway.
Because of the highway's busier.
It's just because wide loads, I had to take Broadway instead of going down the highway.
You're making a note of that, Cindy.
I am.
I don't know why that would be a problem to do it that way. It's a good point, I hadn't thought of that. Okay. Anything else on street? All right, water and wastewater. Any new movement? Probably not with the weather out at the lagoons.
No, I don't think anything significant. Getting started with generating the data for the water and sewer rate studies, getting off to a little bit of a slow start just because of the timing year end and some things, especially the finance staff and having had auditors in, but that'll ramp up here the next week or so. So,
When's the expectation to have that finalized?
he said typically it's in the 6 months range. I just remind everybody that one of the more elusive components of that, as far as the data that he needs, is some kind of projection of capital projects on both the water and wastewater side for the next 10 or 15 years. So please, each of you be thinking about that, and at some point, probably not too far down the road, probably need to get the utilities committee together and some staff and just maybe sit down and brainstorm and try to identify what some of those project needs might be, and depending on how far you all want to go with it, bring it back to the council for more input and maybe some kind of a affirmation of some sort, so that what does get plugged into that rate study, which of course is going to impact the rate recommendations, is considered to be valid.
When is our next work session?
We should be having one in about February, but are you waiting for your guy, or are we doing it without him, or how do you want to play that game?
I don't think we can put it off. I think it would still be valuable to have a work session to
February.
get through some of things
We
like
can
this.
try.
This would be a good time to
Yep,
hash out a
that's
lot
true.
of these sorts of ideas and
Okay.
brainstorm.
Okay.
I don't know if anybody disagrees with that, but
Works for me.
See if we can come up with
not the first week, please.
Okay.
Push it into February a little.
Yeah, I think I have a couple things with audit yet that I won't be done.
All
And
right,
speaking of
that's
which,
fine.
you guys all got a letter this year in your email, which is not normal. That does not mean there was any fraud or anything. That's a new regulation. So you'll get that every year. I was afraid you guys would panic when you saw that.
Just a
It's legitimate.
notification.
It's just a notification that if you have anything that you think is fraud or whatever, contact the auditor. But it's just a new, so the people that have been here before probably never saw that and thought, what is this?
I wondered
But that
a
is
little.
what it is. It's a due procedure set down by the state.
Okay. All right, anything else on water and wastewater?
Just want
Um,
to thank the water crew for being out the other night when
Yeah.
it was
Break.
terribly cold
Yes.
there on the 15th water
Mhm.
line. That was a mess.
Not ideal.
And
There-
are they working on the Elm Street project again?
No. He'll let us know when he can come back. He
Okay,
said,
'cause I
there's
thought-
no way they can work on that
Well,
right
I
now."
wondered, but I thought I saw different
He
signs.
was checking
that-
it. He did.
Signs
Michael
out
came in,
today.
checked and looked. He keeps watching it.
I'm not usually downtown, but I had to go to RX and pick up drugs over my lunch hour, so,
Yep, no.
and I saw that sign out, so that's why I wondered. So, okay.
All right, anything else on wastewater? All right, Parks and Rec. How are we doing on pool applicants? I know nobody's thinking about swimming right now.
Well, we have one person who contacted us about being a manager. And I don't know about the previous manager. She hasn't said one way or the other, so at least we got that.
This is new
A new person about being the manager. So the kids haven't started yet. We really have to prod them to get them in here. But we haven't got the information from Beatrice yet when they're starting the classes.
And the pool group that was here earlier, they've been in conversation with you.
Only once way earlier. They have not since that about who would take the classes or when.
It sounds like they might be wanting to be helpful with some of that recruiting, some of that
Sure, yeah,
prodding.
absolutely.
So, and that would take it off of your plate, which
Absolutely.
I'm sure would be fine for you.
Yeah, it would be. It would
What
be.
are the classes
In Beatrice, at the Y, that they learn so they can be certified.
certified lifeguards?
To be certified.
And we pay for that.
We do, and you can go, I mean, there are some who have done it in Manhattan because they were going to school there or somewhere else. Does not have to be there, that's just the closest for the kids that are in
How
school
long
there.
is the process?
Yeah, they usually swim on Friday, you have to be able to swim the laps on Friday, and then they take the class on Saturday.
2 days.
Pretty much, you do have to do the online course in front of that. And there's the person who does pool school has reached out to me, the one that's in Wichita, I think there's one in Kansas City, there might be one in Omaha, about, running the pool, the filters, the chemicals, whatever. Usually the manager takes that class. If I can find somebody that's interested and we can get them hired, then that way, that gives them a pretty good background.
So that.
And we would pay for that as well.
The manager's one responsible for that maintenance?
Absolutely.
So, good, never too early to start working on these
Oh,
things, cause
absolutely.
it's, 4 months and we'll be
Well,
heating up water. Fingers
I
crossed.
hope so.
Hopefully not an extra 7,000 a day.
Yeah.
Knock on wood. All right, anything else on Parks and Rec? Okay, cemetery and airport? Police and fire.
There will be a Police and Fire Committee meeting on Friday at noon, about the exercising on city property on city time.
Do you have anything from the work comp that says in writing about it? Will you get that to us?
Yep.
It's here at City Hall.
Mm-hmm.
I have met with the chief and received information from the clerk on how this went down last time. And with consideration to that and other issues, we made some modifications to the proposal that's coming to you.
Okay.
Is there anything else besides that on their agenda? Not at this time?
No,
Okay.
that's all that I have.
All right, admin and finance. We do have an admin and finance committee meeting before the council meeting tonight, if any of the members want to report on that.
What was it, right before Christmas? Was that when we met with Tyler Holloman? And toured Jeff's apartment for one thing, and the upper floors of the Kester block with Tyler and Brenda Spencer. And I myself was very impressed with their knowledge. And then Todd and Jeff went to Wamego and Manhattan and looked at some buildings that they're in the process of renovating and some they've already done to see what they were like. And I guess we'd like to get a formal RFP, which is a request for proposals, to send out to maybe have see how much interest there is between Mr. Holloman or anybody else that might be interested in developing the Kester block. Whether we lease it or actually sell it is to remain to be seen. But personally, I think I would be more inclined to sell the property to the developer if that's what they so choose.
And this is just the
And,
business
yeah,
portion of the
yes.
block, to be
For
clear.
clarification, the
Yes.
commercial
This is
portion,
the-
not the whole.
No houses are being sold at this time.
Anything to get it out of the city's hands and trying to
Well,
more money and more money and more
But
money.
touring that, there is so much wasted space
Oh,
up
yeah.
there. Like, it was crazy how much space is up
well,
there.
the Masonic,
Down,
900 block.
Above
the
the
Masonic,
block.
the old Masonic temple is bigger than these two rooms combined up there.
just that one room, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a function of, right now, there's a lot of expenses that it incurs that have to come out of, general fund or wherever. We have to, I mean, the Kester block fund, but that's a declining, the returns aren't coming in to eventually offset it. And there's projects that we haven't tackled regarding, the gingerbread front and things that we would like to do. But this would be an opportunity to not only get these things done, preserve the structures for the future as they are now, a marquee block in downtown Marysville, but also check other boxes. It'd be a benefit to the commercial tenants there, likely. I would also get more people able to, be downtown, live downtown, use that space. And it would, there's a housing shortage, and specifically the kind of housing that organizations like Tyler's do create. So that's why Jeff and I went and visited, because we wanted to see, how they plan it, how well they knew the process, how they handle not only the State Historic Preservation Office, but also codes and zoning. And, we want to craft an RFP that gives all parties who are capable of doing it well and right a chance. And so that's kind of where we were discussing moving forward with crafting that.
I think too, just what I've heard out on the street was, well, why do we need more apartments downtown? People are going to be parking on the side streets and taking up parking spots and stuff like that. I think number one, Tyler's dealt with that before in other communities, and the intent of these properties is for young professionals, be it married or single, places to live while they're working in Marysville, Kansas. More than likely, they're gonna be leaving the house at 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning. So parking, I've heard that a lot of times out on the street, and I don't know if I'd get too worried about that. Two, if we don't do something, what else are we gonna do?
Right.
It's been the way it's been for a long time. And if we have the opportunity to divest ourselves of that property, and I would think probably save ourselves a little bit of taxpayers' dollars,
Well,
maybe not, but I would assume so.
And eliminate the risk exposure you have
Yeah.
financially now for something that can go awry.
And you know, I don't know. I've been married 20 years, and 10 years before that, I heard about people complaining about, we're young, we want a place to live. We're coming to town, we're not ready for a house. So that's the opportunity we have here. And I commend the mayor and the interim for making their efforts.
I think this is one of those where we're kind of at an inflection point with that block and with the potential and what we're trying to do with downtown and the community. And we have a chance here to not only do right by, you know, the buildings and the structures that we were charged with 50 odd years ago, but we also can kind of maybe get something good started for downtown and for Marysville in general. So
I just want to go back to something Jeff told me when we first talked about it, is we need to get out of the way and let somebody else save the block.
yeah, we need to facilitate good things.
Yeah.
We don't need to,
Yeah.
we don't need to be the actor. Yeah.
Jeff, yeah.
Well, I did that all.
So, I mean, I don't know if the council's wishes are if we should move forward with starting to try to craft the RFP. I don't know, you know, where that exactly falls. We also have a Kester Block Advisory Board that I think can probably give us some input, maybe some extra eyes and help with this. They're an entity of the city.
So do you want to start that, or do you want to meet with the advisory board first? And then bring it back to the next
which one,
council
I don't know which
meeting?
one's the cart and
I
which one's
think
the horse.
I think the advisory board is there to advise the historical aspect of the Kester Block, being the museum.
I look at
whatever
they
it is.
advise on all things Kester Block.
Yes, I think that you need to move forward with
So do we need a motion?
creating a RFP.
We have in our possession kind of an example RFP from that the city of Manhattan did. We can kind of use as a bit of a template. I mean, obviously, they took some time crafting it. It actually sounds like it went through several revisions over some years. So, you know, it's been well worked.
Draft that.
That's a good question. Is it a function of?
Jeff, are you going to draft it?
The look on his face was,
Started drafting
yeah, I
it 2
don't
weeks
want,
ago.
yeah, I don't want it.
So it's already in the works.
It's already in the works, and
So,
So would you like to continue with this, and then how do you want to proceed with it? Do you want us to go through the Kester Block, the Admin Finance Committee, have a couple eyes look at it? I mean, I think, I don't want to say strike while the iron's hot. We don't know if Tyler's going to be the person to take this on or not, but while the interest is there, it's time to move.
so do we need to make a motion to proceed with the RFP
And bring it back for
and bring it back to the council?
admin and finance review or
Yeah.
general council review? What do you think, Jeff?
well, ultimately, the council's gonna have to approve it because it's gonna contain the dates for
Right.
the solicitation of interest. So, and those are important dates to determine for how they work for everybody, including the person we're talking to now. As far as the RFP itself, I would have time to complete the draft I'm working on in plenty of time to have it ready for the next council meeting. What I don't know is how much time is needed for others to have input in it. You know, that's the one I don't know. I mean, if you feel comfortable, I'm comfortable with the council asking it to be brought back to them at the next meeting, but
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yep.
That works.
So,
It's 2 weeks.
you wanna do that by consensus or make a motion for that?
Consensus is fine.
Yeah,
Okay, all right, sounds good, thanks, Jeff.
yep, thank you.
All right, anybody else have anything on admin finance? Okay, under appointments and wage determination, every time I think I've got all the appointments filled, I find another one or two that I somehow have escaped me. Would like to appoint to the Airport Advisory Commission Mandy Cook with a term from February 2024 to December 2025. And then to the Convention and Tourism Committee, Kyle Goraki as a council liaison.
Move to approve mayor's appointments.
Second.
All right, any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Yeah. Mr. City Attorney, I assume we are going to need an executive session?
I didn't have a request for one.
Oh.
But I wanted to, well, there may be other things going on behind my back here.
Literally.
But I wanted to thank the governing body for the opportunity to serve as your city attorney. I've accepted a position as district magistrate judge in the 21st Judicial District. I cannot have, under the rules, have a private law practice. However, I can still serve in a judicial capacity, so long as it does not interfere with the district magistrate judge's position. The district magistrate position is a full-time position, and there are certain rules of professional conduct that I have to abide by, including giving up a private practice in a traditional sense. But I want to say I really enjoyed serving. I look forward to going to Riley and Clay County and serving in that capacity. They're both very active counties. And if somebody asks, well, you're slowing down, the answer is absolutely not. I think the caseload will pick up, and then it's serving in the capacity as municipal judge in 3 cities now. I've really found a place where I feel at home, and I think I can, my best career years are really ahead of me in that aspect. And I want to serve the community in that sense. So I really want to thank you.
Well, thank you, John. So when are you resigning effective?
That is yet to be determined. I got this determined the swearing in date. The chief judge has called me, and we're trying to figure out dates. And there's a range. I can't drop and go.
Well, we appreciate that.
And I tried to give somewhat of a heads up ahead of time, but there is a time to wind things down. There's a few things to deal with. Now, I've been fortunate. I have office sharing now. I have a young attorney whose future in rural America. And I can say Clay Circuit Community has a problem finding attorneys. Washington has a problem finding attorneys. Marysville has a problem finding attorneys. Seneca has a problem finding attorneys. Hiawatha finds in the same predicament. And so predominantly everybody wants to go to the metropolitan areas. I see real advantages, and the young associate I work with sees a real future in rural America. So that's kind of where I stand.
So he's gonna take over your practice?
Everything's still in flux, but we are handing off cases.
Are you moving out of Marysville too?
I'm not gonna sell any properties, but I will establish a residential requirement in Clay County.
Okay.
Would you maybe give us a list of replacements that you think would be good for us and that you would trust? Because we've been burned a couple times on.
I've discussed it with the mayor, to be frank.
Well,
I've been to so many city judges myself. I can give you some insights on.
I'm sure.
Even as a nominating commission, I was interviewed. It's a different type of process. This district's all partisan elections, and it's a workout doing the application form, and it's a workout getting ready for the interviews.
Well, we appreciate you not mic dropping and leaving on us and helping us kind of tie some things off. Hopefully we've got a little bit of time to get that done before we transition to a new attorney. Do you have anything to share in regards to pending litigation or otherwise?
I can say this publicly, insurance companies dealing with it. And so, there's nothing for the council to approve, if that's what you're asking.
Yeah, yeah, so we don't need to discuss
I
it.
guess I'll be back at least one time, or maybe next time to talk about that,
Okay.
or I'll, otherwise there won't be anything for this council to approve. I mean, it kind of speaks volumes about what the case is about, so.
Right. Is anybody else would like any, executive session for any specific reason? We might want to go into executive discussion to discuss non-elected personnel. If anybody would like to put us in for a little bit of time on that. I can't do it.
How much is a little bit of time?
Not anymore.
We're caution not, if it's gonna be about me, I am a.
No,
Okay.
it is not about you.
It's been a-
No, Jeff's getting tired of working for us.
I'm just getting tired.
Already.
Discussion about me would be in public.
I think,
The city.
I think 10 minutes would go for 10. Roll the dice.
I move the city council recess in executive session, discuss personal matters of non-elected personnel, discussion of specific personnel matters, not general personnel policies, exception KSA 75-4319, section V1. This session will include mayor, city council members, and city administrator. The open meeting will resume in the city council chambers at 9:10.
I do have one
Second.
question. Employee matters, you want the city attorney in there too?
What's that?
Did you want the city attorney in there too?
City attorney also.
Yeah.
No.
No, you don't need to be in there. I mean, it's up to you. It's your
It's not on
motion. Okay.
Second.
I read it
Okay,
word for word.
it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Stand up and get out of the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know, because he wanted to get the first seat.
My daughter wins the ball game, I'm not at.
Why they won? You know,
They at Hiawatha?
Yeah.
Yep, I am.
Hey, Wayne,
Yes.
here's my vote.
Oh, great, thank you. Do you guys have these kind of, do you have that they send me sit down? Books like this?
And people come, you'd be
Yeah,
surprised,
do you
people
have-
take them off the counter.
I know.
I mean, we put them on our table and.
I'll bring some. I also got a whole stack of state news, state maps.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
They go fast.
Yeah, so a couple of those would be
Yeah,
good.
got it.
You mean, like I said, some people come, they wanna see where the trail
Yes.
is, or they'll come and say, well, you have the squirrel map,
Yeah.
so you have the
Yes.
squirrel, but.
Yeah, of course, we're gonna-
Absolutely, yeah, if you have a couple
I
of,
have
that
two.
would be, yeah, that'd be good, that'd be very good.
Hey, when comes back out,
Right.
Oh, yeah.
then you put a bug in his ear, just give me a clarification on whether you try to utilize 2 stalls or utilize the one in that parking area.
Okay.
Or you want me to come back up, I could get thrown out of I could get thrown into a motion to adjourn so damn quick, I've seen
I
that.
can't
Yeah,
give up proper practice.
I don't wanna bother him or stuff, but
Right.
I just wanna get the engineer, I think.
My guess is it's gonna have to be 2, just because that's what they made us do down in front of the tennis
I could still be a city judge.
because that's what it is. I don't know.
No big deal.
No, it's just gonna take
It's just
2
that
spots.
goddamn.
I know,
No
but
parking
you know what my
areas.
scariest part is? Even about them being right where it is? Do you know how many wrecks are at that? I'm gonna tell you what, I get calls from Blue Valley all the
22nd
time
district,
about,
that's this district.
that's where Bardman ran into that guy coming through just this last year. Those
Nomination.
insurance, they call me all the time, it's like, you can't imagine, because that stupid little tiny block. It's the same thing up there on 13th and 13th is the worst because it's up a hill. But
nobody wants to stop at the
But
hill.
so, but what I'm, yes, but what I'm afraid, I don't want them to
Yeah, I
be
travel-
flying up 6th Street and don't pay attention and run over
I go
somebody
through
on
any-
that corner.
From my house, I go through that intersection 90% of the time.
Well, that's where I always went through when I was a kid, but I didn't know
the
it was.
school so damn much, I just go on down there and go across. I don't.
Yeah.
wanna mess with
13th
the
almost
stoplights.
kills me. Every morning I go there, but those people that come off the highway and turn from the east, they absolutely, well, even, they will not stop. They will not stop even if you're already halfway through the intersection. But almost the worst one is the stoplight on 14.
Yeah, I'd just let Gillis the goddamn engineer and start getting the site.
I don't know what else.
Because we'd like to get the site plan to next council meeting, I think. I meant planning.
To the planning commission. Okay.
So, should I stick around or can I go?
Say yes.
I didn't think they would. Well, it'll get ugly now because the planning and zoning said no and they said yes.
No, they said no.
Okay. So now tell me, I missed it because I had to go get that. They wanted to talk about when they want to put stuff together for the new administrator. Okay. That's what they're trying to figure out in there. So you're gonna do what? Exactly.
I'm a full-time judge.
Okay, but where in Clay Center?
It'll be signed out the door out of the county.
Oh, well, good, because they have a really terrible one over there. Because my friend had to go through that shit.
Which one?
There was a SWAT, let's see. I'm sure it was in Riley County. There was a SWAT team that came, she was a little girl. And the SWAT team came to their house with drugs and stuff, because she was with her mom that weekend, and it was all on camera, and the judge just didn't even care that that was a civil, a divorce. Take the kids away kind of thing. It was ugly. It was ugly. I think, because Tom went to that court, and he was furious.
You do, I think, that district does have a preference for lawyer training. I think
Yeah.
they probably use more search warrants.
Oh.
So in the newspaper, it got searched one time.
Oh, really?
Oh, you haven't heard that?
Well, I guess I don't.
Ask her, she should know.
Oh,
It's great
she probably
gossip.
does.
Great gossip. I don't have all the details, but, I did talk about it in my hearing.
Did it? Wow. So now you have to have an apartment or something there just to have a residence, because you're out of Clay County and Riley. So will you be in Clay County then?
Yeah,
Or
that's
Riley?
my,
Clay. That's your,
site, job, I'm trying to recall.
yeah, whatever.
Designated.
Designated place where you're supposed to be. So, do you think, I don't know who they all talked about, but I'm not kind of trying to pull somebody from Manhattan up here and get into nothing about, well, but would,
I thought he did a wonderful job handling the then mayor. He can avoid answering a question. I've never seen such skills.
what would,
It
what?
frustrated Terry Hughes.
Oh my God.
I watched it.
Okay.
I watched it.
Yeah, Megan Gorachek, which, I know she was too much to be a prosecutor. Do you think she would be interested in being a city attorney? Or would she know anything about it? I was just trying to think of any attorneys I knew around here. There are not many.
I did give him the name once, so
Oh, okay.
I'll stick with it.
Okay, no, I just didn't know if you'd ever talked to her about stuff like that, or.
I was kind of shocked.
Yeah, I know that she went, and I can see that she went back to Seneca, because that's where she grew up, and that's what she knows.
Her dad was having heart issues, but
Right.
she was never very,
Yeah, no, I just was curious if you thought, I didn't know she would, prosecuting and city attorneying is not exactly the same thing in my world.
It's right.
They're like two
I did a
separate.
contract so I could do a judge's job too.
Right, yeah, so finding the right person who knows city issues is a different thing than somebody that knows.
Experience that you
Well, you did it forever, so you did it a couple times, so that's a whole different game. I know that's true.
history.
Yeah,
Did your wife pull out?
What?
Did your wife pull out one?
Nope, she's still elected, she's up there at her position.
I'm down here. I just thought on the radio for something about her too.
Well, she was just elected to, who was it in front of her, Weingart or?
She, replaced, she ran for first election, she, won it, Judge Pat retired.
Pat, who's Pat? I knew it was somebody that we all.
It was like fits her, intellect, ability. I mean, there's some things that she, God damn. You know, you got grand judges are incompetent. But somebody,
Yeah. I mean, she always, yeah, I always thought she was sharp.
Is Will going with that? What did you put on paper?
Well, I don't know if you call it zoning administrator, we always just call him the city inspector, so I don't know.
That's what I wanted.
I mean, he has that other position too.
my sense of relying,
Do what?
relying.
Oh, well, you probably are. Cause I never shut it off. So, yeah, you told the whole world that you're gonna be a judge, it's okay.
Oh, yeah.
Get back in our seats.
It's always that fast.
Did the camera go off, by the way?
No, I never turned it off.
They're watching me out here.
Just as easy.
Sunshine, warm weather.
Don't forget.
Only thing I'm after.
Next
I'm
Wednesday
with ya.
Through the following week.
We did winter, we're done.
Yeah, I don't need beachy, I just need warm weather.
I doubt it. Two Jeffs in the hand.
Are you going someplace warm?
Yes, Jeff.
You are? Wow. And my, nephew's there now, he went down there fishing.
All right, we now return to regular session. No binding decisions were made. So we'll continue to roundtable. Lori,
I got nothing.
Jerry,
Anything.
Colleen, Jeff,
I spoke my mind.
shocker. Keith?
I brought mine up.
I just want to say thank you to the crews that went out during all the snow and took care of all the sidewalks, all the streets. I've been in those trucks before. It's an arduous task, especially when it continues to drift. So I saw those guys working when I was taking care of my own business lot. So kudos to them. Thank you.
I'll agree to that, and you know, for maybe a rarity when it comes to the city doing things, I heard nothing but positive comments. People were like, man, they're out there working and on it, doing a really great job. Also, kudos to our local PD for kind of busting a small-scale ring of bicycle thefts. I heard more people like, wow, that's so cool that the extra mile they went to return it to the owner and everything. Fantastic job on that. And also, for those who didn't make it out to the MCAC event this last weekend, at Venue 36, that was fantastic. It's amazing. You know, we're not that big of a community, but we have a thriving art scene. We have, you know, a vibrant downtown. We've got a lot of things going on, a lot to be proud of. So I think it's amazing that we all get to sit up here and represent this community. So that's all I had.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, it's moved to second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting adjourned.
I should have done this 20 minutes ago.
I'll go eat supper. I didn't get supper before I came to the meeting. I'm starving.
Yes, I did.
For me?
For us.
So sneak out the back door? Cool.
Everybody pray for me on Wednesday.
Good luck.
Yeah, thanks. Yep. Not as regular as